Hey there. Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, it's André here with another short for the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, the podcast for the high-achieving ADHD entrepreneur. This episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. You can get more information and you can donate at www.cadddac.ca. I wanted to share with you that a listener reached out to me on LinkedIn with a message, just randomly, unsolicited, thanking me for the Impulsive Thinker podcast. He says he recently discovered it, was told about it. He suspects he has ADHD and is somewhat in denial about it. He said my podcast is proving to be a real resource for him and thanks me. When I got that message, I thanked him profusely. And I also posted on social media that this is how I know the podcast is doing something. Because an old consultant of mine, Paul Cooligan, asked me, how do you know your podcast is doing what it's supposed to do? Either by listens, downloads, engagement, whatever. All I know is my podcast is doing what I want to do, is informing, sharing real life situations and stories, and understanding of the ADHD brain and the high achieving ADHD entrepreneur. This is proof I'm doing something well. I've had other people email me the same thing, and I've had quite a few people say, because of the podcast, I'm getting a diagnosis of ADHD. So thank you very much to that listener for taking the time, for thanking me, and it means a lot, and I'm appreciating, and it means a lot to me that you're right there listening to me and coming back week to week to listen. Now, plus the other thing too is really cool about this podcast is it's starting to connect people. People are asking to be connected to each other, and this podcast is able to connect smart people, high-achieving entrepreneurs to share and potentially collaborate, which was a great strategic byproduct, and I'm very happy for it. The one thing I wanted to point out on is that what his statement about he's somewhat in denial about it. He thinks he has ADHD, yet he's somewhat in denial about it. Buddy, I hear you. I've been there. Many people listening, many other people are in the same boat or has been in the same boat. We all are in denial about the possible diagnosis or even in denial of the diagnosis. I've been open about this. I went to see a psychiatrist to prove it was not ADHD. Then I got the ADHD diagnosis. I went into denial. And why in denial? Why would we be in denial? Well, it's part of the grieving process. Okay, it's a grieving of a past self, past life. You're grieving the fact that there's lost time, loss of potential opportunities, loss of potential advancement, denial about the stigma that will come through with the ADHD diagnosis. Many of us actually think it has to be something else. And at the same time, too, I think a lot of the denial also comes with the fact of that it's you yourself repeating that I am broken statement. Wait a minute, if I get the diagnosis, doesn't mean I'm broken, but the brain, your brain has been repeating that same message to you all these years that you are broken. Society's been telling you to be broken. Well, you're going to deny that because that means you're going to get outside of your comfort zone of being comfortable with feeling broken, if that makes sense. Even if your brain's amazing. If you know that if you go do something different than what you're used to right now and it's for the better, your brain is still going to fight that, cause some denial so that you can be back where you're originally comfortable. So stretching yourself is discomfort for the brain, be it a positive change or a negative change. Your brain always wants to come down to balance, to that old comfort balance. And I think that's where some of the denial is. But it's that getting out of that I'm a broken statement. It's hard to do. Been there, done that. Okay? Like I said, it's part of the grieving process. Okay? But we just talked about the negative side of, lost opportunities, potential advancement. That's kind of like what would have, if I would have known sooner, what would have happened, I'd be in a better place. That's one side of denial, more on the negative side. But here's the other side of denial, which means you're stretching yourself to the positive. if I get that diagnosis, because this went through my mind too, if I get that diagnosis, what if it is ADHD? What if it can be managed? What if things can change for the better? What if life gets better and happier? You are afraid of these, so you're going to be in denial. All these positive potentials, like to me, it was an eye-opener. Now that I know how to manage this, now I know what to do. I know what's in my way. I know the opponent I'm fighting. It's society pushing all these things on me. But now that I know the world's my oyster, oh my God, I can be a lot more successful. But man, that's scary as hell. That's very scary. So think about that. You're in denial of potential greatness. You're going to be in denial of potential growth and success. Remember, a lot of entrepreneurs are not afraid of failing. They're afraid of succeeding because they think it's going to get bigger and more busier. And what will that success bring you, right? And it's the same kind of concept here. What if it is ADHD? What if it can be managed? What if things can change for the better? What if life can get better and happier? Man, that's scary as hell. What's scary for me was 40 years of the opposite side. No matter what I did was enough. No matter what I did worked. It's not necessarily work, but in other people's mind, no matter what I did was not the norm. No, you can't do things that way. You should do it this way. You know, after 40 years of that, playing a character just to fit in, now you're saying, wow, I can be myself. I can do something completely different. No, there's no way in hell that it can be ADHD, and that's going to happen. That's a form of denial. So the point I want to make here is to this listener who says in somewhat in denial about he believes he has ADHD. What you're feeling right now, buddy, common, natural, felt by a lot of people. I've been there. Many have been there and understand you. It's scary. It can be scary. It's a lot of stuff to unpackage or unravel once you get the diagnosis. And you're going to go through the grieving process, denial, grieving. I forget all the stages right now, but you go through it. And then finally at the end, it's acceptance. Once you get to the acceptance stage, then things move forward quickly. So I just want to tell you, listener, thanks again for reaching out, for telling me that the podcast is doing something. You're in denial, or you're denying it, that's fine. But just understand that a diagnosis does help. There's nothing to be ashamed about it. There's a community out here that understands you and gets you, and we've all been there. You're not the only person feeling this, and you're not the only person that's ever going to feel this way. So we're here for you. Reach out to me anytime. And even to you listeners, find me on LinkedIn, reach out anytime. I'll answer your comments. I'll answer your messages. Let me know. I want to hear from you. I'm here to help everyone. And I know the podcast is doing a great job at this right now. Help me build this community. Help me get this podcast out to many people. Please share this episode with 5-10 people. Please post this on social media. Please give me a rating. Everyone, can you just rate the podcast on the app that you're using? Send me an email anytime, questions@theimpulsivethinker.com, or through the website. Join the newsletter. I'm going to start getting a little more active and start sharing some of my strategies so that we can all win. And I want to hear from you, and I want to keep sharing the successful, high-achieving ADHD entrepreneur stories. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.